I'm in Douai in North France at the factory where they make completely electric Renaults, most popularly the Renault 5. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how they go about manufacturing a Renault 5 in a factory that used to make the original Renault 5s in 1970s, but has been completely revamped since. I'm Jonny Smith. You're watching The Late Brake Show in a factory. This is the Channel Tunnel, which is a train that goes underneath the sea to France, and we're taking the new Renault 5, this particular car being my long-term test car, from the UK back to France, specifically to the factory where they make the new Renault 5 in a place called Douei, about 75 miles away. And that's what we're going to show you in this video, this car being made in a purpose-built factory. Now, the Douei factory is historic for the Renault 5, the original Renault 5. Alpine. I'll be driving that imminently. So this factory was erected in 1970, started production of the Renault 5 in 74, and then it went on to make all kinds of cars like the Fuego, the Mk1, but it became electrified in 2020. So now it only makes electric cars, I believe, specifically Renault 5s. We're going to be getting a whistle-stop factory tour of the Renault 5 production, and I'll get as much footage as we possibly can. I remember the original launch of the R5 that we came to last year, and we did a walk round of on the Late Brake Show. And they said they were very pleased to announce that they were procuring parts and from a very, very tight circle around this factory, so maybe 100 kilometers or something. So it's a very local car, produced very locally. And as we saw from driving here to the factory, French people buy French cars. They're very patriotic in their purchases. UK people less so, which is a bit of a shame really. But it's great to see so many Renaults on the road. But yes, what I want to see from this factory is how quick the process is, how efficient new manufacturing is. And if you like this factory tour, I will do more factory tours on the Late Brake Show. The most popular video I've ever done on the Late Brake Show, weirdly, is a tour of a salvage scrapyard. Who would have thought it? Behold, that's not a riding hat. Safety hat. Safety. Oh, nice. Not clunky at all. Before we go in the factory, base model tastic. Don't think we get these on the UK market. Wheel trims. Steelies. Nice. So this Douei factory employs 2,815 people, and they recruited 415 people specifically, extra people, for the Renault 5 launch production. And they've ramped up their female employees from 8% 10 years ago to 33% now, which is good. And they're reducing their costs. So it's all about bringing the costs down without damaging quality control. They've been aiming to bring the production costs down of the cars by 50% between 2021 and 2029, and they're currently at 30%. So in Douei here, since 1970, they've built 11 million cars. 11 million cars. And I guess the story started with the Renault 5, and the Renault 5 is the current car, but it's built, and we'll see this in a second, all at the same time, simultaneously, as the Scenic, and the Alpine A290, which is coming out imminently. And the Scenic being 2024 Car of the Year. Renault 5 being 2025 Car of the Year. So Renault are on a roll when it comes to strong product. But there's 4 factories in France owned by Renault. Douei here, Maubeuge, I think it's called, which it's made about 6 million cars. And then there's 2 other factories, which is Renaults and Clio, and they make components like engines and gearboxes and electric motors. I'm always interested in why they make factories where they make factories. And the reason why they made the Douei factory here in 1970 is because this used to be a coal mine. And in the 70s, the coal mine closed and there was a huge amount of unemployment in the area, which meant there was an abundance of people willing and wanting to work in this region of France. So a massive car factory was the answer. Of course, now more robots and automation and less people, but still a massive employer. I think across the 4 factories, there's nearly 10,000 employees. Right, so this is the body shop. First part of the process. So they're producing two platforms right now that are coming in. Ampere Small and Ampere Medium. Ampere Small is Renault 5 and new Nissan Micra and Alpine A290. Ampere Medium is Scenic and Megane. So this is the floor pan. But if you look up, you'll see the sides of the body shell. Can you see up there? That's one side of the body shell, and then the other side of the body shell, and then the roof. And that's where down there, they're going to be married together and welded. Right, so you see it's picking a side, body shell side. Here's one down here. Watch. They're getting set to weld. I'm guessing they're spot welding the sides onto the floor pan. Wow, that was quick. Is that done? No. The guide is telling me that down here, can you see these? These are cross members and strengthening parts, steel parts. They get added to the shell, which has just been tacked together at that point. Then they come through here, and that adds structural rigidity to the shell using this. And these parts here, these loading bays, are stocked with bits using little automatically guided robot. These follow little tracks set into the floor, and then as soon as that's running low, the information will be told to this cart. This cart will move into a bay and reload, so the robots have always got a fresh supply of cross members and panels. So in this cage here, there's 2 levels of robots, and this is where they do the full welding. They've just spot welded there, I believe. This is when they do the more substantial welding. Now, that's one of these little robot skates. Look, these are following those hidden tracks, and they'll be going fetching all the components. So you can see how many Renault 5s are coming through and being welded on 2 tiers. In this department of the factory, there are 900 robots. And as you can see, this is completely automated at this point. There's no humans really working in this area at all. Hence why it's all fenced off. So they work 2 shifts over 5 days, and they're currently making 1 Renault 5, or 1 car actually, not just Renault 5s, 1 car per minute. So at this point, the car has been spot welded in a few areas. There's going to be 3,000 spot welds on the cars in total. But more of the welds are done in this box that's just here, which I can't go in. This is where they laser weld the car. So it gets spot welded, all the panels are aligned just here. So they're aligned to make sure that everything is within tolerance. Bearing in mind, modern car manufacturers so much more precise than it used to be. And once it's done that, it goes into this box. And on these screens, I can see that it's being laser welded by robots, and it's damaging for our eyes, so we can't see it. So I'll show you this now. So on the left here, this is the POV of the laser robots. They're just paused right now. And on the right is a CCTV of the room in general. You can see what the robots do. They're just pausing while a car comes in, and then as soon as a new one comes in, they'll crack on. This is the roof skin. So this roof skin's just been finished, spot welded on. Obviously, it's all jigged straight, and then it goes into the chamber where they laser weld it by robots, which, like I said, we can't go in. That was a Renault 5. Right, watch this. That's delivering some new brackets or something like that. They were just saying that they make the doors in a separate section, and the doors, I believe the doors are all assembled to such high tolerances so that they're always going to be aligned, and aerodynamically there's not going to be any issues, because of course an electric car does not hide any noises of bad aerodynamics, whistling, that sort of thing at speed, whereas an engine car, you can get away with it more, but the tolerances are a lot tighter on EVs for aerodynamic purposes. Interesting. If you'd like to see me visiting more factories and going behind the stage curtain of car manufacturing or components of car manufacturing, let me know in the comments. I love coming to these places. I've been to a number of them before the days of social media. And I've just taken photos, but I do get the opportunity to do more of this stuff, so maybe I should share it with you. Let me know. Efficiency plays a massive part in all of this stuff. Because they're always trying to be more efficient, which is why you see so many solar panels in the staff car park, on the canopies, for example. All of this is data capture and analytics, working out consumption of electricity, efficiency of robots. 400 million pieces of data are taken every day in this factory, every day. And that's all distilled into trying to work out how they can refine the production facility. Just quickly come here. So we're now in the next assembly building, more automated trolleys, and I wanted to just show you this, because these are the door rubbers and the kind of roof rail trim on the Renault 5 with the anodized section, and you can see the Alpine ones that have got the Alpine anodized blue. So we've come in this next building and the cars look almost complete, and they sort of are. But the further we walk inside, the further you'll see them being assembled to this point. Because at this point, the motors are in, the axles are on, the interiors are complete, obviously it's painted. So bear with. This is a 100-metre production line. What you're seeing is the carcasses of the doors. The doors are painted on the car, and then they're removed from the car to assemble all the innards of the doors without damaging anything else, and then they're put back on the car. It seems to be the quickest, most efficient way of doing it. Those are the parts of the doors, the innards of the doors. Those are the actual doors, painted. One trolley is for one vehicle, right? So 2 left doors, 2 right doors, pre-painted, and they will be connected via QR code to the shell. They will always go back to the shell they were painted on. For someone that's really into like miniature railways, I've got a thing for these, and radio control cars. But you see, these are empty, so they're going back to be replenished. And of course, the whole just-in-time production method is where all the parts are in a separate warehouse where these are shuttle running constantly. And they only deliver to the production line when they need them. They don't stack them and stack them and stack them like they did in the old days. This is like on a whole workstation moves. You watch. So rather than the parts coming to the workstation comes to the parts. Hang on, look. All the trolleys, the bench is moving. And then there's another one behind. That's really interesting. So I'm going to follow this now. Let's follow this. Modern factories are just so fascinating to me. The way they can make it as efficient as possible, the way they can make quality control tighter and tighter and better. That's the key to it all. And the data collection, the obsession with analysis, like anything in modern life, is just mind-boggling. And you know, you have microwaves and fridges for the staff for their breaks. This is where we're seeing the assembly of the door parts is done by hand, in between robot helpers. So this is the center console. You can see part of it's pre-made with the electric handbrake. These are the door panels, quarter panels. Here we go, we've got another one here. Another little luggage cargo train. And so this will be for one car, 12-volt battery, just part of the cooling or the HVAC system. That looks like the inverter. And that's the spare wheel well area with the tools, wheel arches. And like I said before, they don't just make one car, they make different derivatives at different times. So if they suddenly get a flurry of orders for a Scenic and less orders for a Renault 5, it's fine. Now this is one of the major parts of the production. These skates here have got the underpinnings of the car, so the entire drivetrain, the electric drivetrain. You see the battery pack in the middle, front axle with the motor, and rear beam there. And on that side, behind you, behind the camera, is the rolling, static shell of the car. In that case, a 5, I think that's a Scenic. So we're going to see the marriage quite soon. I believe orange skate means it's a Renault 5 or an Alpine A290. The blue skate, like that one, is the medium, platform, which is the Scenic and the Mk1. So the original Douei plant, Renault plant, was enormous. But what they've done is they've actually shrunk the physical building where they assemble the cars and made the space a little bit more efficient. And then they've sold a part of the site to their battery partner, AESC, which means the batteries are constructed 300 meters on site away from the production line, so less travel. The battery packs here, the shape of the packs are all the same, but the amount of cells within the pack vary depending on what size battery you've ordered. So the Renault 5, for example, 40 kilowatt hours or 52 kilowatt hours. This is a 5 because it's on an orange skate. And this skate is basically like a jig. So they've put the front and rear beams, axles, on a jig skate, so that I guess when it gets married over there with the body, everything is lined up perfectly for the marriage. There's that battery pack there, in the middle. Obviously inboard of the axles for crash protection and safety. And completely waterproof. And there's that independent rear suspension that everyone's been talking about with the launch of the 5. Those of you who know about electric cars will already know that any orange cabling that you see denotes high voltage, HV. And the reason for that is so it's really obvious, but also for fire safety, you know, and accident safety. When firefighters come to the scene or ambulance people, they know that the orange cables are the high voltage. But anyway, over here is the marriage, and apparently it can be done in about a minute. So about 60 fasteners in a minute, where all of that goes underneath onto the body shell. So there's multiple workstations here. The one I'm stood behind, I think, is the same as that there, which is called the B segment. In other words, the R5. And look, here we go. Here's the marriage between all the drivetrain, the battery, motor, suspension, brakes, going up into the body shell from beneath. And that's what this is doing. This does it all in one fell swoop. I'm going to have to watch that again, because it happens so damn quickly. Everything that you've just seen back there on that skate is now on the car. And then I guess the skate will be removed in a minute. So these are all doing up the bolts. Oh my gosh, look at that. So all that cross member with the front wheel drive motor, battery pack, that's all gone in. I thought that would be done manually, but there are humans over there. I think they're bolting the suspension in over there. So this is where, once the drivetrain has been bolted up underneath, these workers here, I believe, are torquing up the suspension, so the strut tops, making sure the suspension is anchored onto the car, and then it moves on to the next line. This line is going that way, obviously, with the car painted and the drivetrain in. Meanwhile, on the left, remember, this is coming this way with all that drivetrain on the skate. And you can see these workers here are bolting these components up together because it's really easily accessible, because it's nowhere near a body shell. So it's easier to do this with humans. So I believe at this moment, the Scenic and the Megane batteries come from Poland. There's an LG battery cell plant in Poland, but the battery plant on site that's 300 meters away, like I was saying about, they're the batteries that go into the Renault 5 and what will be the new Nissan Micra, which is a partnership. Nissan Renault Alliance has been in existence for years. It'd be interesting to know what the Micra is going to look like, because it's going to be hard pushed to be cooler than this. All these suspension components, you can see the hubs, they're all going to feed that production line where those workers are bolting up the suspension onto that skate and onto the subframes. There's the empty skate there, look. That's just an empty subframe. Empty subframe with probably a steering rack. On the moving production line there, obviously you've got a car. Next to it, you've got the station of parts, and that's moving on there as well. This is the bit where they're putting the wiring loom in, and the dash, because that dash has only just been put in. Each workstation, like this one just here, has a tablet, and it tells you, I guess, which parts to fit and when, and what options that car's been fitted with. Because of course everyone options their cars differently with configurators nowadays. So you can see in the engine bay of this, what's this? I think this is a Scenic. The HVAC system is all in place. In other words, the heating, the cooling, air conditioning pipes, perhaps battery cooling pipes, and the dashboard is in. I would love to see what this production facility looked like in the 70s when they were making the original Renault 5. There would be people smoking on site. Of course, there'd be petrol-powered little trucks and forklifts running indoors, most probably. There'd be a lot more humans, of course, and no robots. The changes have been stark, and the efficiency is just ramped up. See the little slip of paper on the front wing there? Obviously, that's part of the car's ID. That will have every option. There's several barcodes, so you can always double check what car this is, what components need to go on this car. If you haven't already subscribed to the Late Break Show, I'd love you to subscribe, and if you'd like to see more videos inside important factories or manufacturing processes within the automotive sphere, let me know. Can you see the soundproofing going in on the floors, and probably on the headlining is already in. I bloody love my job on days like this. Ah, there's an Alpine. There's an Alpine A290 being made. Can you see? Because it's in the Alpine blue and it's got the A on the front wing there. That's the first Alpine in production that I've seen. As you can see, this is the part where the glazing of the car goes in. That's the windscreen, which already has the sensors and the rear view mirror attached. It's done using these huge kind of semi-automated suckers. And the chap is, I guess, degreasing it and maybe putting the adhesive on. And then the robots actually put them on the cars. So the humans set up the machine, the machines put the windows in. In fact, there's a yellow Renault 5 right there having its back window put in. Look how quick it happens. Valentin, the tour guide, just said that the platforms on which the cars sit can adjust up and down, so that when the Scenic comes along, they drop the platform down a bit for the workers to access it because it's a physically higher car crossover. Whereas the Renault 5 comes along and it will be a little higher. Part of this chasing, this obsession with efficiency and data capture is putting these workstations and putting these components as close to the car they're going on as possible, so that there's less amount of movement from the operator going and fetching things and bringing them back, whereas in the bad old days things will be scattered everywhere, further to travel, further to walk, more of a waste of time. That's why all this stuff travels close with the car, and it's in small but rapid chunks, I suppose. Right, so this huge elevator is where the car emerges from the paint shop and into this assembly area. This car is then a painted completely bare shell, and this is where the doors will come off, and then the main assembly will, in fact, let's follow this green Renault 5. I think they're going to remove the doors, which seems counterintuitive having put the doors on to paint it, but that's so you get a consistent paint finish on the car usually. There you go, so the doors are coming off and they will go into this, so they go into that rack and they will stay identified with that body shell. They'll follow that body shell on a different track. So that's where those doors have gone. They've just been taken off the car and they've gone up there and they're on a track above our head. And they're going to cross over my head now. Look, there they are, the green doors from that Renault 5. They go across here like some sort of roller coaster funfair ride. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Monsters University, where all the doors correspond to different kids who have different dreams. Am I the only one that thinks that? First process after the doors have been removed on the painted shell, it looks like the start of the wiring. Obviously the wiring on an EV is more complicated because there's more wiring. All the orange stuff is high voltage, as I said. Rear spoilers on the Renault 5. Anodised red, like the one on my yellow car. Anodised gold, like the blue cars. Back seats have just been dropped into this, but they've obviously been left in a certain position for the next workstation. Carpets are in, soundproofing, center console. You see what I mean about the whole workstation being able to break off in sections and then move down. So it was coming up through there, and then it moves across in sections and then joins the next bit. And this next bit, I think they put the lights in and a couple of other parts. Okay, so seats are in, belts are in, and I'm just wanting to see whether, I think these guys are putting the front panel and the lights on. So steering wheel's just been put on by this chap in this white Renault 5 with the blue denim interior. Also I've noticed on the bonnet, that little charging motif on there, you know, the charging status, that's on. There's a workstation on the front. I reckon the front panel's going on here. We're going on the production line. We're going on the production line. Right, so here, right here, can you see this white one? Headlights are now on. These guys are putting the headlights on. And the crash protection, I think, on the front. Can you see the little like, low impact crash bars? Lights are on. Front panel going on. It's quite hard to keep up, actually. We're now nearing the end of the production line, because cars are coming off the production line here and driving over this sort of bumpy curb area. That part there is where they do the first start. So in the case of an EV, you press a button, systems check, and then that'll be the first time the car comes alive. So that yellow car here is the first time it's ever been alive. Now it's on a rolling road for a brake test, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's weird, like that car there, whoever has bought it, are they gonna have it for years? Are they gonna look after it? Or is it gonna get written off in 1 week by a drunk driver? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Here's an Alpine. On the final sign-off of an Alpine. I'm really excited to drive the Alpine. I do like the wheels. Not so sold on the body kit, but I do like the wheels. So as I said, As you can see down there, they're ramping up to making 700 cars a day. They're currently doing about 1 car a minute. Amazing, isn't it? 1 car a minute. And all made in France. There's another Alpine. Here we go, look. Box fresh Alpine. Going outside for the first time in its life. That's cool, isn't it? It's nice to see a colourful production line, right? I do like colourful cars. Because you see it's got the plastic protection on this blue 5, on the wheel arches, the sills. I think that this car's now ready. Hasn't got its wheel sensors. They often don't fit the wheel sensors until they get to the dealer sometimes. Or maybe it has the torque of the wheel nuts double checked. Right, now we've come upstairs because above that assembly plant that we've just seen where the cars roll off is the battery assembly place. Thank you. This is the high voltage area. The advantage of having it on site obviously is components are less travelled. The just-in-time production technique works more efficiently. And ultimately the carbon footprint of the car, I guess, is lower because components don't come from as far away in the world. Here's another one of these little robot helpers, and this is a battery pack. As I said before, 2 different segments of car, B segment and C segment. B segment being Renault 5. Here's the Renault 5 battery pack. The size of the box is the same. It's how many cells are put in the box depending on whether you've gone for the long range option or the entry level battery option. This is 52 kilowatt hours, so that's the biggest battery you get in the Renault 5, the 250 mile range WLTP. And then that is the big battery, 87 kilowatt hours for the Scenic. And this one's actually open, so you can see, I guess, the cell stacks, modules, as they call them. And that bit's the inverter and the battery management system, I think. Right, so this is a battery testing area inside this building here. And that does a test on the finished pack. If there's a problem, a malfunction that's serious, this can be segregated and the pack can be pushed into a pool of water. So it's segregated from any fire risk from the rest of the factory. Now I said earlier that the packs are assembled here, but I believe the cells are manufactured off-site. So each pack consists of modules, and within each module are cells. They're usually pouches. They look like cuppa soups stacked inside. So just over here, I've just been listening, over here is where the battery packs are tested for leakage. These are liquid cooled battery packs, so they obviously have liquid pumped in and pumped out the other side to keep those cells at their best operating temperature. And of course the pack itself has to be totally watertight from floods. And that's tested here. Can't believe how many of them there are. There's been loads of them. Of course, years ago, this whole floor would have just been making engines, fitting engines, so it would have been pistons, conrods, valves, springs, ancillaries like water pumps, exhaust manifolds. None of that exists in this case because this is a 100% electric car facility, this particular factory. So it's all high voltage and all kind of clean really and devoid of oil. So that there, I was telling you about the battery factory, the Gigafactory, the AESC, is on the same site here at Douei, but it's been sold so that the batteries can be constructed right there. So there's hardly any distance of travel before they come to here to be put into the boxes that are needed for the Renault 5 and the Scenic and the Megane, etc. And then of course out there, the finished cars are lining up ready to be exported to wherever in the world. By rail or by truck, I'm guessing.
On on the journey home, I couldn't resist taking the scenic route and sniffing out some retro French cars in the villages and the towns.
Because I want to see stuff like this, look. That is a Citroen LNA with bull tyres. I've found my next victim. Again, a white car, French, Peugeot 205. It was a special edition, I didn't catch what edition it was. A Sacra Numero. I suspect I'm going to see a lot of these. Just pulled over for a little cliche croissant. Semi-derelict old garage. Gen 1 Clio. But look at this beauty here. Alpha 166 in that incredible pearlescent metallic green colour, like an aquamarine. My friend Paul Harding, you know who you are, Paul. We did his car cave. He's got one of these for sale right now. Look at it, look at the sun on this pearl, it's amazing. They are rare, but nobody cares. They've got such tiny eyes. And now let's hop across the road, because I've just seen 3 other little beauties, French beauties. Another Gen 1 Clio with a droopy mirror. Next to another Sacra Numero 205, sweet. Next to a Seat Marbella, not French, obviously Spanish. They are so rare in the UK now. That looks slightly algal, but it is special because it says so. Right, the hunt goes on for, oh, there's another 205, a GRD. Non-turbo diesel, that will go on forever. This is what I love. I love seeing older cars just being used still. I've just seen a really cool Renault dealer in the middle of nowhere. But better than that, I've just seen a retro Renault. Actually not a Renault, sort of a Renault, an Alpine from the 80s in the car park. I have to do a U-turn and see this. Have a look, look. That red one. Would you ruddy look at that? Now that is a Renault, it's classed as a Renault Alpine, I think. I think that's a V6. Turbine wheels, that lovely aero front end. This looks like it's been sat outside for a while. Yeah, V6 GT. Fantastic. This back end, I remember as a kid, they looked so butch, the back end of these. Right, I'm going around this roundabout an extra time or two because I've found a Mark IV Escort. I think it's promoting an estate agent. It might be a rally car, so I'm going to pull in and have a quick gander. That is a real rally car. It's got a scuff guard on it. It looks like it's got raised suspension. Baby Boomer's Adventure. I've driven past dozens of them, but this little road trip wouldn't be complete without a first generation Renault Twingo with its happy face. Look at his happy eyes. Such a characterful little thing that we never got in the UK. That's what it looks like. But of course Renault have announced that they're going to build another Twingo and it's going to be completely electric and it's going to have a face similar to that. I have not had this attention in a new car before, and I mean a new car that's not a supercar, hypercar, anything like this, a mass-produced, affordable car for so long. I've lost count of the number of people that have wanted to come up to me and talk to me about the Renault 5, and they usually start with, I don't even like electric cars, so I'm not an electric car person, but, and then there's a swollen pause. And they just want to know about it. They want to sit in it, they've got a nostalgic backstory on the old one, and they really, really love the way it's been put together and conceived. And I can totally see why. I've done about 1,000 miles in mine so far, and this particular trip's going to take about 300, 400 miles. And it really is superb. It is superb. As I said in the intro, if you haven't already watched the review that I did of this car in France with my friend Greg James from the radio, you can go and watch that now. We had a right laugh with it. I will do a sum up of this car when I've spent a few thousand miles with it. That'll be for a future video. But I hope you've enjoyed this factory tour video. And if you want me to do more of these factory tours, as I said before, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love you to subscribe to the show. And we have merch, like stickers, in our merch shop. Go and have a shop now, I dare you.